This is National Native News. I'm Antonia Gonzalez. A bill that would have granted federal recognition to the Little Shell tribe in Montana failed. Nikki Willett of Montana Public Radio reports.
Senator Mike Lee, a Republican from Utah, objected to fast-tracking the bill's passage in the Senate Thursday. The Little Shell Tribe of Chippewa Indians Restoration Act of 2017 would have created a government-to-government relationship between the United States and the Little Shell Tribe. In his singular objection to a call to bypass debate and pass the bill, Senator Lee pointed to the Bureau of Indian Affairs' denial of the Little Shell's petition for federal recognition in 2009.
And I'm aware of no legal analysis indicating that the conclusion of the Bureau of Indian Affairs in 2009 was inadequate or flawed. For that reason, I object.
Little Shell Tribal Chairman Gerald Gray says Lee is referencing an outdated decision.
We'd sued on that, and we won. That ruling doesn't even exist anymore, but he pulled it out of some archives.
Gray called Thursday's vote a disheartening outcome and thanked Montana's Representative Greg Gianforte and Senators Steve Daines and John Tester for carrying the tribe's recognition legislation. Speaking ahead of the Senate vote Thursday, Daines, a Republican, reiterated the bill's bipartisan support.
The Little Shell Tribe has waited for lifetimes. They should not have to wait another year to get this done.
It is unlikely the bill will come up for a vote before the end of the congressional session and will therefore need to be reintroduced next year. I'm Nikki Willett.
Congress voted Thursday to update a law governing the transfer of lands allotted to 5 Oklahoma tribes. As Caroline Halter reports, amendments could help families hold on to land.
The amendments eliminate the law's blood quantum requirement for people inheriting restricted status land. That's privately owned land under tribal jurisdiction exempt from state taxes.
As it stands right now, if you are less than 1/2 blood quantum of the 5 tribes, so if I am less than 1/2 Cherokee, when that land passes from my parents to me, it falls out of restricted status. It just becomes another piece of Oklahoma.
That's Sarah Hill of the Cherokee Nation. She says the 1947 Stigler Act led to the gradual loss of most restricted lands in Oklahoma, and that was the intention.
So the purpose of the law was to take land out of restricted status and get it onto the tax rolls. They're trying to eliminate the tribes. There's no other tribe in the country where blood quantum determines whether or not that land is still considered Indian land.
The amendments passed the House and Senate and are expected to be signed by the president.
That was Caroline Halter. The federal government is failing to meet its obligations to tribes, according to a new report from the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. KLCC's Brian Bull reports.
Since colonization, the U.S. government has signed off on nearly 400 treaties with the First Nations, offering services in exchange for acquiring their lands. But the Commission says there remain continued spending shortfalls in areas vital to tribal communities. In a conference call, Catherine Lehman of the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights said basic infrastructure needs are greatly lacking on reservations.
So an estimated 14% of households in Indian country have no access to electricity. That is a rate 10 times higher than the national average.
Cheryl Kennedy is chairwoman of Oregon's Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde. She agrees with the report's other finding that health care funding is below the national average. In 2017, Indian health services spending per patient was nearly a third of that for the rest of the U.S.
And then you wonder why the health disparities for Native Americans are at such a high rate. The United States expects all nations to live up to their treaty obligations. It should live up to its own.
Among the Commission's recommendations are a congressional spending package to address disparities across Indian country. I'm Brian Bull.
And I'm Antonia Gonzalez.
National Native News is produced at the Annenberg National Native Voice Studios by Quantic Broadcast Corporation. Funding is by Odawi Law Group, provider of Indian law solutions, and by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, with support from the Public Radio Satellite System.
Support by the New Mexico Small Business Development Center, who can help business owners and entrepreneurs with business advising and training to develop skilled entrepreneurs and strong businesses for New Mexico. More info at nmsbdc.org. Support by BNSF Railway Company. BNSF honors the commitment of Armed Forces members and is a top employer for U.S. military veterans, hiring over 9,000 veterans since 2005. More at jobs.bnsf.com.
Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.